Okay. So today we're going to explore alpine.js a little bit. So that's basically a rough minimal framework for composing JavaScript behavior in your markup is how they frame it. And what it is from a first glance is some kind of declarative, lightweight JavaScript framework. It reminds, looks a little bit like how a modern JavaScript framework would operate. And today we're going to give it a spin, and those tabs is probably exactly what we're kind of going to go for in the first place. So let me see. Let's maybe start with a completely new. So the idea of a framework like this is that it basically is ideal for kind of like server-side rendering. So a little bit the reason why Vue is bigger in the Laravel world than it would be in something like React, for example, right? So we're not going to worry about routing here. That's something that we're going to do from the back end. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new project and set up a new neoan3 project. Just download that quickly. Okay, it's just going to take a second. Okay. So let's see. So if I reload this, we should see that, okay, neoan3 is running. And so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our own frame that we're going to set up with a couple of prerequisites, right? So I want to create a Tailwind CSS, and how I'm going to do that is, first of all, I'm going to say, okay, neoan3, new frame. Let's call this how do we color frame? Let's call this alpine. Why not? Okay. So it should have created a new frame. That's pretty cool. So let's first see what we need for this frame. Right. So the first thing that we need, we can jump over the database setup. None of that is necessary. We want to have a JS variable in here, and with a source, and we're going to directly take that from a CDN right here. Let me see where we have this. Yeah, so that should do. Add section, xxx dist. This should work, right? Let's take that one. Let's take that one. Okay. In order to see if that even exists at all, let's quickly do the following and say, okay, we're going to create a new component, home, and it's going to be a route component with a view. Yes, we're going to use a frame, and that frame is going to be alpine. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go to the default PHP and set it from demo to home. So I want this to be the default route. Okay. So let's see. Let's give this a little spin and see if it's loaded. So in our components, we now have our home. And so I'm going to just take one very simple example here. Yeah, and simply do something with like this, right? Where we say, okay. So first we declare something like open is false. Oh, and I should read that better. So we declare that as an object. Guess that makes sense. so that's basically our initializer, and what we want to do here is to basically say p and then zx show open show me, and then here we have a button, and that button has an @click of open equals true. That should be it. Okay. Let's see if that's the case. Yep. That works. Okay. So far so good. So far so good. Now let's get a little bit of a combination going here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to switch over to npm and install Tailwind CSS. So and that should be, actually let me quickly see how that package is called. Just Tailwind CSS, okay. So npm I Tailwind CSS. Okay. So far so good. So there are a couple of things of how we want this to work for us, right? So with Tailwind CSS, it doesn't really make sense to just include that. So we basically want to have a little bit of logic where we can create our kind of like component CSS and add that logically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I want to have post CSS, and I also want to have npm I post CSS import. I'll show you in a second why we need that. Turn off the plugins. Okay, now let's create 2 files, and we can do that in our root just to make things super easy for us. We're going to create a file that is a post.css config.js, and that's basically a module exports. It should look like this. And give me a second here. So we need plugins to be require post CSS import and require Tailwind CSS, and actually also require the auto prefixer, which we don't seem to have. I thought that's kind of, yeah, that comes along, yeah, auto prefixer. Not sure why it doesn't find that, but it's okay. Okay, so far so good. And then the next file we need is a Tailwind Convict Css. We're also going to put that in the root. That's if we want to extend how it's actually also a JavaScript file. So tailwind.config. Okay, so Tailwind Config CSS is basically a little bit easier. Module exports, and then basically I don't even need that. Actually, now that I think of it, that's not how you're supposed to do it. It's not how you're supposed to do it. For now, I'm actually going to delete this. and say npx tailwind. Is that how it works? Yep. Okay. Fair enough. So for now, let's not worry about this. That should be fine for what we're trying to do today. It's just an important setup for when we want to load, particular plugins, or if we want to set themes and like all those kind of things. Now, in the last step, let's go into our package.json and create a script. So what we want to do, and actually let's first think about it here. So we want some kind of global CSS, I guess. Let's create a CSS folder. And actually in here, let's create a style sheet that we call main. Okay. So we want to import Tailwind Css / base. Actually, let me quickly see. What I need. I think there are 3 things in there. Yeah. So that's what we want in our case. Okay. That's what we want in our case, and then in our package.json we want to say, let's call this build styles, and now our build styles are basically now running, and I need that CLI tool as well. Okay. Let's actually first do npm id post CSS CLI. Okay. And now let's concatenate things together. So the idea is to say, okay, so first we have our frame, alpine, CSS, anything CSS that we want to concatenate together with component and / anything.css, and yeah, and then we say post CSS, and we want to have the output to frame alpine style.css. Okay, and here in our style sheets, instead of this, we're going to say base, which is then the this absolute, and then say frame alpine style.css. Okay. Now let's quickly see if that runs. Well, right now there will be not much in there, but yep. Let's try the directory. Yeah, that's not really an issue right now. Okay, style CSS. Okay, perfect. So that rendered our CSS, which is of course endless at this point, but that's okay. That's okay, let's close that. well, not much we will see right here, right? So let's see. So what we want to have is in our, let's actually close everything now but our home. Let's close everything but our home. Oops, I actually closed everything. Okay. Now let's get this a little bit more, up to speed here. So what I want to do, instead of all of that, I want to create a mt2.px2. So the way Tailwind works is actually quite simple, right? So this is just margin top, and then 2, depending on that is normally I think that the standard is 0.25 rem, so 2 would then be 0.5 if I'm not mistaken, and then px is the padding on the x-axis, so I don't have to do pl and pr, so I can combine a lot of those things. And then we're going to create a list, right, with the class flex and border bottom. Okay, and then we're going to have a couple of LIs in here with the class maybe MR1. Yeah, that should be enough. And then let's see what that looks like. Okay, a little more love here. And actually, let's already start by, because so the way Tailwind works is it's quite verbose, right? So you have this kind of interesting fact that you're writing a lot of inline CSS, and the idea is that you try that out, and once you're happy, you kind of switch over to writing apply codes for that. So here in home, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new style sheet. So I'm not going to call this .style.html, so I don't want the neoan3 loader to pick up on it. And the reason for that is that I want to compile this together with my one output CSS rather than loading it on a component base. So that said, let's create our .tab, actually tab link, right? So tab A, and then start with an @apply. I'm going to say, okay, inline block, text blue 500, px2, let's give it a little bit more here, and font semi-bold. Okay, so what that should do is let's build this. If I give this now, let's say a dot tab A, let's see what that's doing. Yeah, and that looks nice. And so let's assume I have 2 of those. Are a little bit suffering here. Okay, I want to have an active state. I also want to have a hover. Let's start with a hover. Tab A hover. Let's just make it a little bit darker, maybe, huh? Text blue 900. And also, and I want to have an active state. So my active state is going to be text blue 700, border left, border top, and border right. Maybe BG gray, I don't know, 300. Let's do it like this, and while this is rendering, let's give one of them an active. Okay, let's wait till the script runs. Yeah. Not really happy here. Let's do rounded. The top. Okay. Okay. See how that works. Okay. So now the idea is to combine basically the front-end logic and the back-end logic in order to work with this in a relatively cool way. So let's first see. Okay, yeah, I guess we can live with that. Okay. So so here's the thing. I want to here basically use a tab system, right? So I say x data is, and then I say, okay, tab is, let's just use a title maybe. Tab is 1, and then here instead of saying active, I'm going to say class, and I think this is this delimitation, and then active if tab equals 1. Okay, let's see if that's true. Okay, that seems to work. Perfect. So that we can kind of duplicate here. And then here say something like 2. So what we now need is naturally some kind of interaction, right? So what we have here is an add click, where we say tab equals 1, and here we have an add click where we say tab equals 2, and that's actually all the logic we need for this, and it works. Okay, let's create some content maybe. Let's give this even more. Now let's say our container is 2/3 and centered and maybe bordered. Rounded B. Okay, and then we have a, let's say a diff. Is it an X if? No, that's X show. I think it's like this. Okay. Let's see if that works. Okay, cool. Definitely need some. And actually, let's do this in here. Let's do this in here. Say class dx2 dy. so far so good. Now, what we want to do is to basically say we want to generate this smarter, right? So that seems to be kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate content now and pretend I have something like a database or whatever. So tabs and content, and then I'm simply going to return some kind of object here. So let me see, what do we need? We need to have tabs, which are again an array of arrays. Okay, so actually let's close this now, we're done styling. So let's just say it has a title of first tab, and it has a content of content 1, and then we simply make 2 of those, and here we say second tab, and we say content 2, and then we say third tab, we're missing comma here, and actually let's get a little bit more interesting here and assume that we're retrieving some form of HTML here, where we say assets, oh yeah, neoan3, sure, and actually just to be sure that this works regardless of context, let's make that absolute. Okay. Okay, so far so good. And now, so the only thing that we need here is to basically say data is, oh, we don't even need to meet that. We can directly hook that in here. So let's give that to the view and say this tabs and content. Okay, so far this will not have changed anything, and now we're going to make this a little bit smarter and say, okay, so tab is initially, and we're just going to go in here and use the regular neoan3 engine and say, okay, so tabs, we're going to take the first one, and then we're going to say title. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say, we're going to iterate over this and say tabs as tab, and here we're basically going to say, okay, this is tab title, and this is active if this is tab title, and this is going to be tab title. Okay, so we don't need this anymore, and here we're going to say, okay, this is tab, oh yeah, title. I have no iteration yet. Let's create an N4 here. Tabs as tab. Let's get rid of this one. And then here, we're going to say tab.content. Now let's see if that works. Doesn't. So what's the long form of this annex ref? checks on. Okay. Okay. Yep. Very nice. Just have a question from, well, I assume Melbourne. Oh, and Clownwoods is here. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, no, so I'm just trying this out. Don't know yet. It's certainly lighter than Vue, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay. So basically that's already it, right? It's a little bit of a show. So the question is now is how does two-way data binding work? So let's create that maybe as well. So let's create a little bit of a distance to the top here. And basically here do the same and say this is 2/3 and has a mix auto. And we are going to, what's wrong with you? Then do it if you want to. And in here we're going to have a select so is that X model? Yeah. So X model is that this is tab. Okay, we don't need an ID. Maybe a little bit of styling here. So let's say this is shadow W full and then how's that appearance none? Yeah, that's it. And px2 py4. Let's take our regular stuff here, and that should be okay. And then here we say option, and our value is tab title. I'll do the same here and iterate over it. And for tabs as tab, and here we say go to tab title. Okay. Okay, that seems to work. This is definitely very aggressive here. What do we have here? px2. We don't need that. Let's make this smaller here. Okay. Let's give this a px1 and a bg white. Yeah. Yeah, this works nicely. Yeah, so a little bit boring, but I guess we've proven a point. Proven a point. Yes, Clownboots, everything is good. I am actually waiting for you to have time, but I don't have time either, so we'll see. We'll see. How are you doing? I need a little bit more space here. pxy, py2. Oh no, this is this one. Let's get this a little bit bigger here. And this less. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Clownwoods is good. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, interesting concept here. I think I'm going to share this project so you guys can check it out. Let's see. Tuesday and Thursday work for me. Okay, booked. I'm going to write you a... what do I want to do here? Actually, sorry, I'm just trying to finish this here quickly. Import into version control. Share project in GitHub. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to do. And in3 alpine tailwind. Yep. I guess that works. Okay. So, let's see what we need here. Yeah, all of this, of course. All of this, of course. All of this, of course. Yes. No. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. So that should be it. Okay. Thanks for watching, and Clown Boots, Tuesday. Let me actually check my schedule quickly. Let me check my schedule quickly. How a Tuesday looks like. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm gonna reach out to you. How? What's the best way to reach out to you? You know what? Just write me in Wizen. Do you still have an account there? Yeah, I think that makes most sense. I think that makes most sense. That's how we're going to do it. Okay. Then thanks again, and I'll share the link in the actually I can do that right now. Let's post that link of the repositories. All right. Just so it's there. All right.